Hi guys, Elaine here, back again. Currently in California, up north of Yosemite, hanging out with friends, camping for a few days. We flew back from New York a couple days ago and here for a short 2 weeks, camping, running errands, hanging out with a few friends, getting tested, quarantining before seeing my parents. And so today I actually wanted to share a little bit about the benefits of this whole quarantine, which obviously has been a huge downside for many, and myself included, right? Like being stuck inside the house, doing my due diligence and not interacting with people face to face in person has definitely taken a toll on a lot of people, I'm sure, myself included. But I will say that despite all the downsides, right, to so many industries taking a hit, people losing their jobs, and just this whole huge financial and health crisis, there has been upsides as well. So I'll come from the I and share the things that I found beneficial for this, like the last 3.5 months. At first it was a huge panic. It was a huge panic because people are dying, people are getting sick. I'm scared shitless of like my dad getting sick because his health is already compromised. So I haven't seen him actually since this whole COVID-19 thing, because I'm afraid of flying back from New York, which was definitely the hub of everything, with cases rising like crazy every single day. So I was living in the fear of even coming back to see him. And then of course, whenever Sergio flew back, I was afraid that he would get sick, right? And now with all the protests and the riots, California's numbers are climbing, and here we are. And there's still a lot of like nervousness, and it was nerve-wracking flying and all these people, and every time someone coughs and sneezes, you're like, holy shit, what the hell? And of course, there's the financial strain on many people. Like, I have multiple businesses, so I'm lucky to have different streams of income. However, I will say, heck yeah, my coaching and branding business took a huge hit, because guess what? My clients are shut down. My clients are taking a huge hit. So they aren't spending that money on social media, branding, marketing, and strategizing. They're barely trying to stay afloat and keep their businesses running, or hopefully not being permanently shut down, right? For some clients. And so despite all of that, I did have a huge epic meltdown the first couple weeks of quarantine. And then, Sergio kind of calmed me down, and I eventually started to embrace and obviously realize there's certain things I can't control. There's no point in me watching the news, reading every single article, looking at all the social media posts, because I can't control those things. I can do my part, right? But I can't stop the numbers from climbing. And so I just started to, after the first couple weeks, focus on the things that were within my control. And that is a few different things, right? Really starting to pay attention to my health, the things I eat. I started cooking a lot more, and I just started to finally shift into some of the things that I've been wanting to do for so long. Like, I don't lack work ethic, so I've always been working hard, but there's been projects that I've constantly put off because I'm like, oh, that's like a second or third or a B class or a C class priority. First is like handling my clients, creating events, creating shows, this and that. So things like creating content is kind of for later, right? Things like building my offer, right, for a bigger tribe is later, because I have these one-on-one clients. Totally thinking about scaling and implementing all the things that comes to scaling a brand and a business. That's gonna come later, right? That's also what I said. And so when this quarantine hit, and I was like, oh shit, well, I'm kind of backed into a corner where now we get to pivot. Like, I get to pivot, because do you want to end up like the quarantine was a wake-up call saying, okay, whatever business model you've been running, it's been okay. Like, you're doing what you love, you're making money from it, but it's not super sustainable. Should there ever be another huge recession, an outbreak, or whatnot, should all your clients go out of business? So how can you scale and reach more people? It's by leveling up your brand and creating reusable content, right? Scaling. So I really got a chance to really focus more on that. And that's actually one reason why I decided to relaunch my YouTube channel, which I took a huge 1-year hiatus from. I took a long hiatus from it. But now I'm like, okay, everything has been pointing towards growing your brand, doing more content, and diversifying your streams of income, Elaine. And so not only this, but I finally launched my greeting cards company, which I had been thinking about for a long time as a fun passion project, one with shorter term gratification. A lot of the projects I do, such as artist development, events, like charity shows and things, they're long-term and delayed gratification. It's a shit ton of planning, blood, sweat, tears, money, and all of that for a one-day event or like a few hours event. And the celebration is short-lived. Maybe that's just my personality, but I've always wanted to start a greeting cards company, but I've let it I've let time, and putting my other projects ahead of that as a priority prevent me from doing that. And so pre-COVID, like late last year in November, I started working on the greeting cards company already. And when COVID hit, people were like, oh, well, who's actually gonna spend on cards, But I wasn't gonna let that stop me. I was like, I have that little bit of extra time right now, so I'm just gonna launch it. And if anything, people could use a pick-me-up and people could use notes right now. And I wanted to implement a buy one, get one, where for every card purchase, I send one to someone that's impacted by COVID, whether that's our senior citizens, people that are sick, our frontline workers, or doctors or nurses. And so I got a chance to launch that, and I'm so grateful, because if it weren't for COVID, I don't know how much longer I would have been working on that project and waiting for the official launch. So I was like, it's not perfect, but it's launched, and I can always make it better later. And then really getting to even tap into skincare, right? Like, I've always loved Rodan & Fields as a brand, and I was using their products, and I love the products. Like, I've been a loyal 3-year customer. So I've always been asked if I wanted to become a consultant as like a super side hustle, super part-time thing. And I'm like, I love and promote the products already, but I promote them to you because I don't have time for that. But I was like, in this moment, everyone's staying home. People are seeking some sort of at-home self-care, because I know I can't go to my facial lady. I can't really do any of my beauty skincare appointments. So I was like, you know what? This brings me joy. I'm going to do that as well. And it's just been such a blessing that this quarantine has allowed for me to release myself of guilt. Guilt is something I would always feel when I choose to bring on certain projects, because I'll be like, this isn't really a priority for this moment. I feel bad that I'm not spending the best of my time working on this, and this. These 3 really important priorities. And that sucked a lot of the joy out of what I was doing, because I've created my multiple businesses, right? My multiple projects. I've created income from nothing. I've created my brand. I've created my coaching clients, my music media platform, my artist development platform. But it became this child that I put all this time and effort and energy into, and I almost got a little I was so focused on the goals that I started to feel I had to create this because other people want it. I had to do this because it's what's expected. That's the logical next step. And I lost the joy in it because it became so stressful and it was so much tied to my identity, right? The girl that quit her 6-figure job, defied her parents, even though her mom told her they were gonna disown her in her late 20s, which is totally weird. I'm in my early 30s now, but because I made such a drastic choice in my life, I felt like I had to follow through with the masterpiece or the monster, right? However you want to view it, that I've created. I love it. I'm passionate about it. However, sometimes I want to do some things just because it brings me joy. And I felt so much guilt around that because I'm like, it doesn't make sense. But with COVID, it's like, okay, everyone's kind of at a standstill. Like, maybe this is the perfect. I keep getting bit by mosquitoes, by the way. Ow. Stop biting me. Mosquitoes love me. I apparently have sweet blood. This I'm sweating, so my patch keeps coming off as well. What the hell? Where am I not sweating? Okay. Oh, stop biting me. Okay. So with COVID, everything's kind of at a standstill, right? I'm no longer going out like to places. I'm at home. So I'm like, this is the perfect time to experiment and do the things I want to do without feeling guilty, because I'm limited to doing some other things for my other businesses right now. So I can keep fighting it and keep like kind of like beating myself up or trying to make it work, or I can take this not as a rest time, because I definitely was not sitting there and like resting or binging like all the Netflix shows. I did watch some at night though, but I was like, okay, some people are choosing to panic in this moment, rightfully so. Some people are jobless in this moment. Some people are struggling with their businesses in this moment. And for me, before COVID, I was already deciding, like, where do I want to take my business? Do I give myself permission to once again, like, repave a different path, right? Because the goal has stayed the same. I want to do what I love. I want to inspire people to follow their passions, their creativities, despite what our families, society tells us we should do. So that is still my mission, is to inspire millions and billions of people to do that. So that hasn't changed, but is it okay if I play around with the vehicles that helps me get there? And that is the greatest gift that COVID has brought me. It's given me that extra time, that extra kindness, that extra permission, because a lot has been on pause, for me to be like, okay, you've been thinking about this for a long time, Elaine. You no longer want to run and grow your business the way you have been growing it. So it's time to experiment with different methods and not feel bad that you parted ways with certain clients, not feel like you need to replenish, right, and get those clients back, but take this time to create with joy. Make your greeting cards, do your skincare, create your videos, create your content, do writing, right? And really start to build. Even if those things, not some of those things do generate immediate income, but even if some of those things are not immediately income generating, that's okay. You're doing something. You're capitalizing on this time to channel your creative energy to create something amazing that is sustainable beyond COVID and any other pandemic that may hit, like, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't hit, but that's been the greatest gift. So I truly feel like I haven't experienced self-beat up in, I don't know, a solid 2-3 months, which is the longest time ever. Because I'm always like, prior to this, I'm always like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Now it's like, no, let flow and let be and create. And I feel happier. I feel happier, I feel more abundant, and that's been a huge topic and area that I've been working on. So it's ironic, right, that it takes COVID for me to feel free to pursue what I want to pursue due to my internal battles, and that I'm starting to feel abundant. Because I've always felt that I've had abundance in money, right? When I worked at a job I liked, or I felt like I was saving the world and creating all this stuff with meaningful like purpose and all that. And it was creating an abundance of impact, community, connection, but not necessarily money, right? Like not necessarily money. Like for my money, I had to work hard for, right? X amount of clients equals X amount of money. And I want to figure out ways to where I can create that residual income. I want to figure out ways to have multiple revenues of income, right? The residual income as a consultant. Some one-on-one clients, some consulting projects, my greeting cards company where it took a shit ton to launch, and now it's just to the marketing piece, right? It's getting it out there to different places all over the world. It's to create and really level up on my brand to where I don't need to work with clients that pay me $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month and rely on those 10 clients. I can work with 100 clients, 1,000 clients in different ways. Maybe they afford my one-on-one coaching, right? A few selective ones. Maybe they join my mastermind for a little less. Maybe they do a subscription of mine, right? Like it could be like $200, $100, but I'm scaling it. I'm working with 100, 1,000 people. And everyone else that can't afford it or chooses maybe not to, but they're kind of interested, they can consume my videos. They can consume my content. They can opt in. They can like opt in to get the freebie. And that's where I'm headed. And I am so glad that I finally made that decision to do that. And it took a freaking worldwide pandemic for me to not feel guilt and to give myself the permission to do that due to time and external circumstances that is causing a lot of us to be either in panic or a standstill or stress. So after the first 2 weeks, I chose to channel that panic, stress into creativity and abundance and joy. And for that, I am super grateful. So follow my journey. If you guys haven't followed me, like and subscribe. I post videos a lot more often now. And let me know how you guys have been doing in this pandemic. Like, have you guys been feeling tight? Like scarcity, fear, sadness, anger? Or have you also been like unlocking or unleashing your passions, your creativity? Have you started your passion project, your brand? Have you decided to level up on something? I'd love to hear from you. And before I sign off, I would just say I am super grateful to be out here in nature because, yes, I'm moving to New York City. That's not a very nature-y place like in Brooklyn. But being in the pandemic and in lockdown, I've really valued and missed, first off, people, like thriving subway stations that I would used to be like, damn, I can't get through the crowd, right? But I would still love it. I miss people watching at coffee shops. I miss all of that. And I miss nature, like nature and camping and going out. So this has been our second time like out of town together. I think last week we went to upstate New York, which was kind of nice. We're on a hike. And here this weekend we're in California. We're like near Yosemite with friends. And I just miss like the outdoors, both in city, like city-wise. And New York is still not New York. It's still gloomy. It's kind of weird. It's hot, but it's gloomy as far as vibe. It's just not as lively as the New York I know and remember. But it's getting there, right? And one day I hope we all get to go out and about with no masks soon because it's safe to do so. And as far as nature, it's nice to be out beyond my four walls, right, at my house and my backyard. So anyways, lots to be grateful for. I hope that whatever you guys have been facing, been dealing with in this quarantine, with this pandemic that there has been a light of some sort. I hope that there has been something positive that you've created out of this. And until next time, take care and stay safe.
Hey, I keep my foot on the gas, I keep my foot on the gas. Hey, I know I'm never gonna crash, I know